Hi, I am Vijender Busreddy. In this video, I will explain about trust. Trust in IoT perspective. Normally, trust is a very vast subject, but in this video, I will explain about only in IoT perspective. So first, I will go to the trust definition. So trust is a set of relations between the entities that work on a particular protocol, and it's a belief or confidence on the other node or thing based on the defined protocol. So here you see three people, A, B and C. A wants to send some information to B. That means A wants to convey some information to C. So what he will do is he use B, because A may not or doesn't have a proper communication to C. So he will pass information to B and then B passes information to C. In this scenario, if A wants to communicate with C, then A has to have some trust on B. So if A doesn't have trust on B, then A may not give that information to B, so which he wants to convey to C. So the main thing is the trust between A and B is very important to convey information A to C. But if there is no B, then A cannot send information or pass information to C. So that is also very much important to convey information to C, and to convey information to C, and there is a trust is required. So the main thing I want to say here is how important trust in IoT, because these distributed networks depends on other nodes or other things to pass information to the destination or some other destination thing. So these relations, so the computation between these two is based on the past interactions. So trust is always computed from the interactions. So there is no other thing. So it based on the interactions, the trust will be completed, and it is on that particular protocol. So here I will give some information about trust properties. So the first one is trust dynamic. So how it is dynamic? The trust computation happen in past interactions. So as interactions are happening, trust will be computed. So that is completely dynamic. So that means from time to time the trust value will be changes, and trust is not necessarily transitive. That means if A trusts B and B trusts C, that doesn't mean that A trusts C in the same way. This is called as not necessarily transitive. Trust is asymmetric. That means if A trusts B, that doesn't mean that B trusts C. And trust is context dependent. Context dependent means the trust is dependent on particular context. For example, if you have a car driver or car mechanic, so you can trust this car mechanic for your car suggestions or buying or selling something else. But you may not trust that much on movies review and any other thing. So here the context is, because he is a car mechanic, you can trust related to that information only, not the other information. So that's why we call it as a trust is a context dependent. So how we will compute the trust? There are two ways to compute the trust, that is distributed trust computation and centralized trust computation. In distributed trust computation, you have a direct trust computation and recommendation based trust computation and hybrid based computation. In direct based trust computation, so there will be direct interactions between two nodes. So based on these two interactions, direct trust is computed. Whereas indirect trust, some other node gives some recommendation. For example, Z sends recommendations on B to A. So based on the recommendations, the trust is computed. So this is called indirect trust. Whereas hybrid trust is a combination of both direct trust and indirect trust. So what happens in centralized trust computations? We have a trust agent, which is a centralized server, and all the nodes will send the trust values to the trust agent. So what it will do, that interactions or the values will be computed at the trust agent, and again it sent back to each and every node. So the main advantage with the trust agent is it has a global picture, whereas for distributed computation it is a local picture. But the problem with the trust computation is if trust agent crashes or fails, then the entire network will be collapsed. So that is the disadvantage with the centralized trust computation. So, but this IoT is a distributed trust computation, distributed networks. So distributed trust computation is suitable for the IoT networks. So here I am just explaining how recommendations will be sent to a particular node. So here you see P, Z, Q, and there are some nodes A, B, C. So P forwards this recommendation to Z based on its interactions with A. It is a recommendation of 0.84, and B is 0.87, C is 0.83, and Q is 0.86. This all table will be sent to Z. Similarly, Q also sends all this information to Z. So now Z has these two informations. So based on these recommendations, Z computes the indirect trust on A, B, C, and P, Q. Thank you.